During a family dinner, my father announced, "You're the biggest disgrace in our bloodline." My mother nodded, "You abandoned tradition, you're no child of ours." My siblings laughed as I sat in silence. But instead of arguing, I pulled out a letter from my bag and slid it across the table. The moment my father read the first line, his face turned ghostly white. "I'm 28. Born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina. My family? Old school, Southern, proud, traditional. Think church on Sundays, sweet tea always cold in the fridge, and the same exact dinner routine every Sunday since I was 5 years old. My dad is a military vet, retired Navy. My mom stayed home and raised us 3 kids like it was her full-time job. My brother Mark, 32, stayed in town, works construction, married his high school girlfriend, has 2 kids already. My sister Jessica, 25, is engaged to a local cop and works as a dental assistant. Me? I left. I got out right after high school and went to college in New York. Studied art. Yeah, I already hear the eye rolls from some of you. But it's what I love. Painting, photography, design, all of it. I stayed in the city after graduation and now I work full-time as a freelance visual artist. I've had small gallery shows, sold a few big pieces, even did a mural for a local cultural center. It's not easy, and it's not stable, but it's real. My parents never approved. They never really said anything outright for a while, but I always felt it in the silence. The awkward pauses. The change in their tone when I talked about my life. They didn't get it, and I stopped trying to explain. Fast forward to a few months ago. It was a Sunday. I was back in Charleston for a short visit. I hadn't been home in nearly a year. I usually avoid long stays, things are always tense, but this time I was staying the weekend. My mom insisted I come to dinner, the whole family together. I said sure. Big mistake. We sit down at the table. Same as always. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, cornbread, iced tea. Everyone's talking like normal. Mark's complaining about gas prices. Jessica's showing off her new engagement ring. My mom's asking if I've gotten tired of the city yet. My dad's just eating, saying nothing. Then, about halfway through the meal, the room just shifts. Dad sets his fork down. Looks directly at me. I knew something was coming, but I didn't know this. He says, "You're the biggest disgrace in our bloodline." Just like that. In front of everyone. No warning. I freeze. My mom doesn't even try to stop him. She just shakes her head and says, "You abandoned tradition, you're no child of ours." Mark lets out a low whistle and mutters Jesus under his breath. Jessica laughs. I just sit there. I can feel my face burning, my hands shaking. I don't even know what to say. It's not like I've done drugs, ended up in jail, or done anything to really shame them. I just didn't live their version of life. And here they were, basically disowning me over dinner. But I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't try to argue. I just reached down, unzipped my bag, and pulled out an envelope I had been carrying for a week. A letter. I slid it across the table to my dad. He stared at it for a second, like it might explode. Then he opened it. He read the first line. I watched the blood drain from his face. My mom leaned over to read it too, and her expression cracked instantly. Total silence at the table. Even Jessica stopped laughing. The letter was from the Charleston Art Institute. An official invitation. They were hosting a big upcoming gallery event called Southern Roots, a modern interpretation. And guess who they chose as their featured artist? Me. They wrote that my work was a powerful modern reflection of Southern identity. That it was bold, honest, deeply rooted in tradition but not bound by it. They wanted to showcase over 20 of my pieces. Right in downtown Charleston. My name would be on banners, in the local paper, on the event flyers. My face. My art. My voice. All of it. And it wasn't just any gallery. It was the one my mom used to take us to as kids. The one my dad said only real artists ever got into. I finally looked up and said, I may have left home, but I never left where I came from. They said nothing. Just sat there. Dead quiet. And I could tell, it hit them. For the first time, they saw me. Or at least, what I'd become. But here's the thing. I'm not sure I want them to be part of it. And that's where I'm stuck. Do I let them come to the opening? Do I pretend like dinner didn't happen? Do I give them a second chance after years of silent judgment and now this public humiliation? I honestly don't know what to do next. But I do know this, that dinner wasn't about food. It was about control. And I didn't give them the reaction they wanted. I gave them the truth. So, I didn't stay long after dinner. I took my plate to the sink, rinsed it, and walked out the back door without another word. Nobody stopped me. Nobody asked where I was going. I drove back to the Airbnb I was staying at, small place on James Island, quiet, near the marsh. I sat on the bed for 2 hours, just staring at the wall. Trying to process everything. They really said I wasn't their child. Like I was just some stranger who showed up for dinner. But it didn't stop there. The next morning, I got a text from Jessica, didn't think you were gonna go full drama queen LMAO. Congrats on the letter though I guess. I didn't reply. Then Mark sent one too, still don't get why they chose you. But whatever. Hope it works out. Again, no reply. By noon, Mom had called me 3 times. I didn't answer. On the 4th call, I let it ring, then listened to the voicemail. She said, your father and we didn't mean for dinner to go that way. We were surprised. You blindsided us with that letter. Your name's going to be everywhere, and we don't know how to feel about it yet. Just, call us back. I didn't. Because that voicemail? That wasn't an apology. That was fear. Fear of what the neighbors would say. Fear of losing control. Not remorse. Back in New York, I started prepping for the show. I had 3 weeks to deliver all the pieces and finalize everything. It felt good, like something real was finally happening. Then, one night around 11 p.m., I got a call from my cousin Daryl. He's the one person in the family I still talk to. Works at the Charleston newspaper. He said, hey, man, you sitting down? I said yeah. He goes, someone anonymously submitted a story to the paper's tips section about your art show. About you being a disgrace to Southern values. It's full of personal stuff. Where you live. What you do. Even a quote from your college years when you called Charleston suffocating. My blood ran cold. He added, the editor shut it down immediately. Thought it was personal and petty. But I figured you should know. I knew immediately where it came from. Who else would have that kind of information? Who else would try to sabotage something I've worked for my entire adult life? It had to be one of them. I couldn't sleep. All night I kept thinking about it. And then, another twist. I do part-time design work for a nonprofit. We support inner-city art programs and do public installations. My boss calls me into her office. She says, we got a letter. No return address. It's about you. She hands it to me. It's typed. Cold. No emotion. It talks about how I mock traditional values, how I'm spreading cultural rot, and how I don't represent the Southern community and shouldn't be trusted to work with kids. I almost laughed. Almost. But then I realized the letterhead was fake, but the contents were based on conversations I'd had with my family. Private stuff. Things I said years ago, in anger, maybe in passing, maybe while venting. It was them. Again. I felt sick. My boss was understanding, thank God. She didn't buy into it. Said, we know who you are. Your work speaks for itself. But I couldn't stop thinking, how far are they willing to go? 2 days before the gallery show, I was home working on the final layout for my main piece, an oil painting of a southern porch at dusk, mixed with digital overlays of protest signs, jazz lyrics, and faded church hymns. There's a knock at my apartment door. I open it, and there, standing in the hallway, suitcase in hand, was my father. Full uniform. Navy medals pinned on his chest. I didn't say anything. Neither did he. He just looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm here because your mother said you need to be reminded who you are." I almost slammed the door in his face. But something told me not to. So I let him in. He sat on my couch, took off his cap, and looked around like he was inspecting enemy territory. Then he said, "This isn't how men in our family live. This is not the life we built for you." I finally snapped. I told him, "No. You built a life for yourself. I built mine. And it's standing. Whether you like it or not." He didn't flinch. Didn't yell. Just stared. Then he pulled out his own letter. He slid it across my table, same move I did at dinner. I opened it. It was a DNA test. And under probability of paternity, it read, 0%. I looked up, stunned. And he said, "You're not my son." And now it all makes sense. So there I was. Standing in the middle of my apartment, holding a sheet of paper that basically told me my entire life had been a lie. Not my dad. Not biologically, anyway. My hand started shaking, but I kept my face calm. I didn't want to give him the reaction he came here for. I said, "Where did you even get this?" He replied, "Your mother had her suspicions after you left for New York. She said something felt off. You never looked like me. Never acted like me. So I got a sample from your old toothbrush last time we visited." I stared at him. "You stole my DNA?" He shrugged. I needed to know. That hurt more than the results. Not just the violation, but that they'd talked behind my back, judged me, tested me, and planned to use it like a final blow. Like it proved I didn't belong. But then something clicked in my head. My mother knew. She knew for years, and never told me. I asked him, "So what now? You going to tell everyone I'm not your son and hope it ruins me? That I don't deserve the family name?" He said nothing. Just stood, put on his cap again, and walked out without another word. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I was supposed to be prepping for the gallery opening, but all I could think about was, who the hell is my real father? I called my cousin Daryl again. Told him what happened. Told him about the DNA test. There was a long pause, and then he said, "Dude, you're gonna want to sit down for this." He tells me about this rumor that had floated around the family back in the 90s, before I was born. Something about my mom being close with this traveling art curator who came through Charleston a lot. Big name. Charismatic guy. Ran workshops and pop-up exhibits. Daryl said, he used to visit the city every spring. Your mom volunteered at the gallery back then. They were seen together a lot. I asked his name. He said, "Hold up, let me dig." 2 hours later, he texts me, "Leon Garrison. From Savannah. Still alive. Runs a gallery in Atlanta now." My stomach dropped. I googled him. His face popped up. He looked like me. Not exactly. But enough to make me sit back in my chair. Same sharp jawline. Same thick eyebrows. Same damn crooked smile I hated growing up. I didn't know what to feel. Shock? Rage? Curiosity? All of it. Word about the art show kept spreading. The local paper finally ran a story. My name was printed bold across the front of the weekend section. I got messages from old classmates. High school teachers. People I hadn't heard from in 10 years. But I also got a voicemail from my mother. She said, we need to talk. It's urgent. I ignored it. Then I got another. I know what your father told you. Please. I didn't mean for you to find out like that. I wanted to wait until after the show. Please just call me. I finally called her back. She picked up on the first ring. She sounded tired. Older than I remembered. She said, yes. It's true. Leon is your biological father. But that doesn't change the fact that I raised you. That your siblings are still your siblings. I said, you lied to me for 28 years. She replied, I didn't lie. I protected you. I said, no. You protected yourself. Then she broke down. Told me Leon didn't know. That she never told him. That he left Charleston before she found out she was pregnant, and she figured it would be easier to raise me as my dad's son. That her husband agreed to raise me like his own. Until I started drifting. That's the word she used. Drifting. I told her, I didn't drift. I just didn't grow into the son you were hoping for. She said, you grew into someone I didn't understand. I hung up. I still hadn't told anyone, not even my boss or friends, about the DNA stuff or Leon Garrison. I just showed up early to the gallery, suited up, helped finish setup. The building buzzed with energy. The show looked incredible, modern, soulful, messy in a good way. 30 minutes before doors opened, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It said, heard you might be mine. I'm outside. My heart stopped. I walked out front, and there he was. Leon Garrison. Older, grayer, but unmistakably him. He looked at me like he was seeing a ghost. I walked up slowly. He held out his hand. I didn't take it. I just said, did my mother ever tell you about me? He shook his head. No. I had no idea. Not until 2 days ago. Your cousin Daryl emailed me. Sent a photo. I didn't know what to say. He said, you're talented. Your work, it's electric. And yeah, you look like me. But more than that, I feel it. I'd like to get to know you. If that's okay. Before I could answer, I heard my mother's voice. She had come. So had Dad. And my siblings. All of them standing in the gallery doorway. Leon standing in front of me, offering his hand, looking like he'd rehearsed this moment 100 times in the mirror. And behind me, through the glass doors of the gallery, stood my mother, my father, well, the man who raised me, Mark, Jessica, all of them. Staring. I turned around and locked eyes with my mom first. Her face was tight, pale. She looked like she hadn't slept. She looked terrified. My dad, no, her husband, stood stiff, arms crossed, jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth would crack. Mark was shaking his head slowly. Jessica? She was recording. I swear to God, she had her phone out like this was some kind of soap opera. The gallery manager looked at me like I needed to handle this fast. People were starting to arrive. I turned back to Leon. Come inside. We walked in together. That's when the room shifted. You could feel it. Like a storm was coming and nobody wanted to be the one to move first. I gestured to the main piece, the one I'd poured my soul into. The porch, the hymns, the jazz, the grief. The South and the city merged into one. Leon looked at it and whispered, I see you in it. That's when my father's voice cut through the air like a gunshot. You don't belong here. Dead silence. Every guest turned toward him. He stepped forward, looking directly at Leon. You don't get to show up now, after 28 years. You don't get to call him yours. Leon stayed calm. I never knew. You know that. My dad's voice cracked. And what if you did? You'd have raised him? You'd have turned him into this? I stepped between them. Enough. My mother walked up too, her voice small. Please. This isn't the time. And I said, louder than I meant to, no. This is the time. If not now, then when? My voice echoed through the gallery. People stopped pretending not to watch. This was no longer just an art show. This was a reckoning. I turned to her. You lied to me for 28 years. You let him believe I was his son. You let me believe it. And when I tried to be something different, when I chose art over guns and church, you made me feel like trash. Tears welled up in her eyes. She whispered, I didn't know what else to do. I turned to my dad. You hated me because I wasn't like you. But you didn't just reject me. You tried to destroy me. You sent letters. You tried to ruin my job. His face went blank. Got him. I said, yeah. I know about the anonymous letters. I know they came from you. Jessica laughed awkwardly. Wait, seriously? Dad? He didn't deny it. Didn't say a word. Just stood there. Then Mark spoke. Why are you dragging all of us into this mess? You left. You think you're better than us now. You always did. I snapped back, no. I just stopped pretending. And then, right there, in front of everyone, I turned to the crowd and said, if anyone here's uncomfortable, I get it. You came for art, not family drama. But this is the art. The mess, the betrayal, the truth. This is what Southern tradition looks like when you scrape off the paint. People didn't leave. They clapped. Not loud. But enough. And then I saw her. My grandmother. She had come. Quiet, unnoticed. 86 years old, cane in hand, standing by the back wall. She walked slowly toward me, ignoring everyone else. She took my hand, looked me in the eyes, and said, we all have secrets. But you turned yours into something honest. Don't ever be ashamed of that. She turned to her daughter, my mother, and said, you should have told him. All of it. Mom sobbed quietly. Her face collapsed like a dam finally broke. My dad walked out. Didn't say a word. Mark followed him. Jessica stayed a while, probably still hoping something juicy would happen for her video. But the crowd shifted back to the art. Questions, small talk, praise. Leon stayed near the edge. He didn't try to take over. He just watched. Quiet. Careful. That night, I didn't go to the after party. I walked home alone, barefoot, holding my shoes, suit jacket over my shoulder. The streets of Charleston smelled like salt and magnolia. It was warm, humid, real. I sat by the water, staring at the skyline. I thought about family. About names. About how truth has a way of coming out, no matter how deep you bury it. My mother sent me a long email. Apologizing. Not excusing. Just explaining. Said she was ready to answer anything. Said she'd understand if I never wanted to speak again. Leon asked to meet for coffee the next morning. I said yes. Not because I was ready. But because I didn't want to keep repeating the same cycle of silence and shame. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if I'll ever forgive my parents fully. Or if I'll ever truly feel like I belong in either world, my old life or my new one. But I do know this, the truth is heavy, but carrying it beats carrying a lie. I've been disowned. I've been betrayed. But for the first time, I don't feel lost. I feel free. Maybe that's enough for now.